do it. Yeah.
Let me, let's see. Pull it up on my computer here. Okay, hold on. Okay. So, yeah, I need my glasses. Okay, so this is from Pema Chödrön's book How We Love is How We Die, or I think it's How We Live. It's not How We Love, it's How We Live. It's How We Die. That's her. Um okay. The true cause of our unhappiness is not outside, but inside. Our propensities and negative emotions are what ruin our days, not our supervisor or our nemesis. The Buddha taught three main methods for working constructively with our kleshas. And just a klesha is anything that kind of gets in your way. Um, constructively with our kleshas, which I think of as 3 steps to courage. He presented them in order of increasing subtlety and profoundness. The first is refraining from reacting. This is based on the sense that there is something negative about the emotions, so we should do whatever we can to avoid making things worse. If we approach refraining as a means of shutting down, it can easily turn into that. But if we approach it as a way of opening up and becoming more allowing of whatever arises, then this practice will serve us well. I think of refraining from speaking and acting as becoming familiar with the transformative energy of the emotions. Since our mind tends to get stuck in repetitive patterns easily, we usually react to new experiences in the same predictable way that we always have. We reinforce old habits by repeating them over and over. But on the other hand, if we allow a mindful gap, we won't react in the usual way, and we can allow the experience simply to pass through us. My experience is that allowing a space before we react predictably is magical. For me, it's what allows for making friends with myself, what allows for clear seeing and change of direction. Without this mindful gap, without refraining, we just stay stuck in old patterns, wondering, yet again, how did I get into this mess? The practice of halting or refraining is the most basic way of working with our kleshas. Don't speak, don't act, get in touch with what we're feeling. It's the first method we need because when we perpetuate our storylines or act out, we don't have the mental space to apply the other two practices, transforming the emotions and using them as a direct path of awakening.
I love that reading because it's a different way to look at pause,
Mm,
but simply talking it's pause,
yeah.
you
Mhm.
know, and we've talked a lot about it as being at BKM, we even have a pause rock in the labyrinth.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julianne. We just read the reading.
Wonderful. Hi.
We're talking about it being the original pause. If we only knew how to pause.
Yep.
Well, we're learning how to pause. How's that?
There we go.
Right?
Yes.
And it's like it changed my life, and that's why I talk about it a lot, because it is the simplest intervention ever. There's not a lot of steps. You just take a moment and pause. You disengage for a second. It is not complicated. It does take practice. But if you applied it in every aspect of your life would significantly change, because you would not speak abruptly, impulsively. You would make decisions with more mindfulness.
Mhm.
You would not react, but take an action accordingly. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how important that's why we're talking about it tonight?
Yeah.
Is pause is it's essential to well-being and being safe and secure. Like even pausing to check if you're safe and secure, pausing to see how it feels, pausing to give yourself time to reflect. It's so essential as an integrated process to keeping us safe and secure. Do you see that? You know, and I like the way Pema writes about it. You know, I like to simplify everything because I don't like complex things. I think life's complicated enough. I don't want to add to that. You know, so when anything in the reading come up for any of you, and let's go back to the reading, and then we'll come back to just actually the implementation of pause.
Mm-hmm.
I like when she says, my experience is that allowing a space before we react predictably is magical.
Mm-hmm.
It's where magic is. I mean, that's even more of an impetus to do it. It's a magical place. You can find joy there. You can find you there, right?
Mm-hmm. There's so much I love about this reading. Even more toward the beginning, she says, but if we approach this as a way of opening up and becoming more allowing of whatever arises, I think instead of like avoiding negative feelings or staying in those old patterns, um there's like an ease that she expresses around emotions like passing through us. In that next paragraph, I liked that. If we allow a mindful gap, we won't react in the usual way, and we can allow the experience simply to pass through us. And I just appreciate the ease of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just I was just thinking about this in terms of like how I've become more patient when I'm driving. It's like, oh, just taking a breath instead of like immediately reacting just makes the whole experience feel calmer. And um also I think when you pause and reflect, it gives you an opportunity to make your words more powerful, words that you tell yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because then they become really true to you. And then they also become more powerful to other people too, because it's not as though you're making snap judgments about things.
And you choose your words carefully and more communing with self what is important. You have the time to really evaluate what it is that you want to speak about
Yes.
in a loving, reflective way, because if we're impulsive, it feels that way. It feels like it's coming at you instead of offering something. It's a very different approach. And I like that you are pausing, and taking a breath is a pause.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple too. Taking 3 deep breaths is a pause.
Yeah.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Before you say yes to anything, pause and say, I'll get back to you. That's a pause. That's a safety measure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a safety measure. It's easier than trying to get out of it once you've said yes,
Yes.
or having
Agreed.
to come up with some kind of an excuse.
Yeah.
Because we're so prone to say, okay, yes, I can do it. I'll do it. And that's not a safety measure. That's codependency 101.
Mm,
Yeah, backpedaling is hard, especially if you think it like physically is like riding a bike. Like, wouldn't you rather just kind of like stop the bike that you're riding rather than have to like go backwards? It takes much more work to go backwards and it
Right.
is stop and just rest for a second.
You know, and people are fine if you just say, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And it gives you a minute. Even if you absolutely know you want to do it, practice the pause anyway.
mhm.
Because it gives you a moment, because that could just be the excitement that's motivating it.
Yeah. Yes.
And play the tape forward. I like that one too.
Mhm.
After you pause, play the tape forward. What does it really mean?
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I like about this, another thing that I like about this reading and the pause in general is that, like you just said, Janice, to pause, even if you know you want to do it but still pause and to connect with yourself and like kind of try it on, does this really serve me? And I think that is very powerful because I know for me, I would just say yes, yes, yes. I used to just say yes, yes, yes. And then, like you said, backpedaling is hard, Annie, but I wasn't connected to me. Like in recovery, I'm trying to always be connected to me. That's my goal,
Yeah.
or as much as possible. And like she said in this last paragraph, for me, it's what allows for making friends with myself. And I love that. That is just something that I know I've been working on for some time now, but it's like, yeah, let me just connect with me, you know.
And
That's
it's
that's
an act of self-love.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
really is. It's an action,
Yeah,
taking care of yourself. Go ahead.
I do like the last paragraph. Like, I mean, that's where I'm relating the most is like the practice of halting or refraining is the most basic way of working with our kleshas.
Mhm.
Don't speak, don't act, get in touch with what we are feeling. Um, because I feel like I do practice pause a lot, but what I've noticed lately is I have been falling back into some old behavioral patterns, and I think it's because I'm like acting on things instead of actually like sitting and feeling my feel like sit and feeling like how I feel. I'm like trying to make an act of like what will make me feel better without actually like getting in myself.
Hmm.
Which so I really do like that because it brings that to light, and and at the end it says um because that's the first method we need, because when we perpetuate what perpetuate our storylines or act out, we don't have the mental space to apply the other two practices, transforming the emotions and using them as a direct path of awakening. Because where I'm at is like I've been just feeling really weird, and I assume it's just because of change and missing Georgia and like all these above, but like I've been trying to move and just do things to like pretty much avoid like the feelings, which are like not allowing me to transform those emotions and use it as like going on like the same path that I've been on, right? And I feel like that's definitely backpedaling. So I'm really grateful for that reading because it brings it to light.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's amazing how many wonderful sages perceive the same thing from different. It's like how Villa Kalima has different practitioners. It's like we hear it from, whether it's Tara Brock or Pema or whomever, it doesn't matter, or Gabor. I mean, we're all saying the same thing because it's all coming from the same consciousness, you know, it's the collective unconscious. But it's so cool to get different versions of the same thing coming at us. Because
Yeah.
some words resonate more, some authors resonate more, but they're really saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah. I think old patterns are easy to fall back in just because they're so familiar, but that pause really gives us an opportunity to like change course and be like, wait, do I really want to go that way? Or do I want to go this way? And without, you know, pausing, it's like people who are driving around and they're lost, but yet they like refuse to like stop the car and like look at a map or ask for directions. And they just continue to drive around, like thinking somehow they'll find their destination just by, you know, following some path that they don't know where it's
I
going.
say it's people are bumping into walls all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know what they're doing. They just keep bumping into the same wall.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to what you were saying, Annie, that pause allows you to choose. It gives you choice.
Yeah.
And when else, if you don't pause, you're not going to choose, you know? How else do you choose if you don't pause? You don't know what you really need at that moment, right? You have
Right.
to have that moment to reflect. And then you have a choice, you know, so much of what we do is so rote. We don't even know we're doing it. You know, it's just driving us and going around in circles, getting lost.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, you guys?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, so since we're talking about refrain, pause, whatever, how do you use it now currently in your life, and do you see a difference? Do you utilize it currently in your life? And if you do, how do you see the difference? I would like to, you know, just get some insight.
Sometimes I like I do imagine like if I have a thought, for example, and I feel as though I must share this, I actually play out, and this happens very quickly. Me saying it aloud, and then and then kind of imagining what people's reactions will be, and that's just enough of a pause to kind of make me maybe reevaluate saying whatever it was I was going to say. Or continue on and say whatever it was I was going to say. But just kind of imagining how the conversation might go, and if I think it's really going to be productive in terms of just, is that what I want in my life right now? I don't know. It's very abstract.
It makes sense. You know, it's like the pause allows you a couple of things. It allows you to look at timing. It allows you to connect to yourself as to what really you want to commune. And is it valuable? And if it is, then make sure that you find the right timing so that you get validated or heard, or at least feel like there's an avenue to share. You know, we don't look at that. We want to share what we want to share in the moment without thought. And you're saying, it sounds like you're saying you pause and process that before you just.
Yes. I'm definitely listening a lot more than I'm speaking. Even though sometimes I just feel like
So who else is willing to share how they, if they do, or if they don't, how they're going to use pause more, refrain, reflect?
Um, yeah, I've been doing the pause, especially when I catch myself like how do I explain? So like spiraling out with like basically storytelling how I think something is going, uh,
Mhm.
and taking certain things like and putting them in certain patterns. And so before like reacting or like talking to somebody about these things, I have been pausing, and I have been like processing them and like trying to like see what other like if I'm taking it the wrong way, you know, especially with like text messages, right? Because text messages are so impersonal. So it's like when I get them, like it depends on my mood, like how I know they're feeling. And then I'm like, right. And so like being able to pause and like kind of reflect on all of those and like really truly reflect and get out of my head on how I think it's going. And then being able to go to the person and talk to them about it and like get vulnerable and let them know like this is bothering me, you know. And I just kind of like run down with like I know this, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but this is how it's making me feel. But I know, like, you know, you've been going through this. So, and most of the time, I gotta tell you, like, it's definitely not how I think it is. Like 100% of the time. So, you know, but I'm like, it's been great for those conversations, you know, when I'm able to recognize that. So,
Yeah, I think text is way
oh
overused.
gosh,
It
yes.
causes more problems than it does
Dude,
by
it really
any
does.
kind of, I mean, brief, I'll be there at 3, but you know, a conversation over text, oh my God,
Yeah, yeah,
that's just not working
yeah.
for
Especially when
anybody.
it's
It's
like
not just you.
an emotional, like, you know, conversation. I'm like, you know, or work, you know, either or. Just don't know. I'd rather pick up the phone.
I think important conversations should be over the phone, and then you're still gonna have, it could be iffy.
Yeah,
It's a lot better than a text,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
because you can clarify at least.
Yeah. Mhm,
You can hear the tone, you can feel the energy.
mhm.
Texts are so bleh.
Wild.
They're not a very effective way to communicate except succinctly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. Well, I'm glad you used pause for that.
Yeah.
Julianne, do you use pause?
Yeah, you have to. Eventually, if your body wants to survive. At least that's my experience. Sarah, I have to say, I love the glamour wind blowing in your hair.
AC went down and it's so hot. Thank you. So glamorous.
Looks
Like
great.
a commercial.
Yeah.
That's
Um, yeah, you know what's coming up for me is I've been using pause a lot. Um, in especially like I'm a, definitely a people pleaser. People ask me to do things and like saying no or even saying like let me think about it is so hard, but also it's gotten to the point where my body feels worse saying yes, that like I have to pause now and then um and then I have to like psych myself up that I'm worth saying no for. Like so it's become a process, and I think like saying pause is one thing, but I've really had to come to terms with what matters to me in order to best be able to use the pause or just any of my actions. Um, so that comes up for me. But what also comes up is like, what is like I have a friend who's currently, speaking of text messages, um, who like wants the information dump, like everything about his entire day. And I've definitely felt the need to do that in the past as well. Like I know it's not not that it's uncommon, but it's not like, unique to him. Um, I guess what is that, Janice? Is that just like seeking validation, seeking connection?
All of the above. Kind of like your release and putting it out there to whomever is
Mhm.
all those things, wanting to be heard, validated, seen, acknowledged. And I don't know what the result is. If you have an expectation those things are going to happen, then you're going to be disappointed potentially. But if you're doing it just literally like a dump without an expectation, I'm not saying, whether or not it serves you, but do you see the difference in that?
Yeah,
If we're dumping, expecting something in return, we're going to be disappointed. But if we're using it as like journaling, like
yeah,
sharing, yourself with no expectation.
then that's not as bad.
I'm not even going to judge it. If it serves you, that's great. The only thing I would consider is be mindful of how it's serving you, if it's serving you, and are you expecting something from it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not into that. I get so detailed oriented around text messages. Um, Spending way too much time making sure I'm picking the right words, and I've had to like accept, oh, we're very athletic today. Sorry. We're about to get visited here. Um,
Oh,
by my little angel, who's gonna probably be going to the other side sooner than later. Um, but yeah, picking the right words I think is so important when communicating via text. And next thing I know, I've spent like an hour of my day working on a 5 sentence text, and I'm like just so upset with myself at that point because it's just my body is so still so traumatized from like the burnout at work that um I feel it in my body and it does not feel good. Um, so I've been working on just hitting send, speaking of text messages, and then in that case, I've been working on not pausing.
That's a good thing though, because choosing your words is important, but it doesn't necessarily mean the person's still going to interpret it right.
Right. Oh,
You know?
sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
That's such a great reframe, Janice. I do that too. Like, I nitpick my words. And it's like you said in the beginning, I think it was you, I'm not sure. But like the process now, I hit send and then I talk to myself, don't read it. Don't go to your outbox. That is not necessary.
Over.
And yeah, for a long time I would do that. Yeah, and now it's more comfortable not to look. Like if I look, I'm like, oh, I need to pause, actually. Coming back to the topic. Yeah, the pause is just, I mean, it's just ever evolving part of my practice, my life. Thanks to you, Janice. All the things, right? The pausing before I talk. Thank gosh, I learned that. I was just a foghorn of whatever was on my mind. So that's great. Yeah, the pausing to feel how I really how something lands for me. That's a good one. And then how I want to respond, you know? That took a long time and still work on it all the time because I'm still learning about myself, especially my, sober, authentic self. So yeah, it's really it's evolving, and I think throughout the practice of the pause, like I was thinking about it when I called into this call, or when I saw the question, and I was like, now at the pause is like, that's the real stuff. Like, it's not absence of anything. It's just, it's the real me. It's the me when I am not ruminating or or anxious or overthinking, I mean, all the things that I do. And I think they're like natural or inevitable for me, maybe just because of the conditioning. So I love what you said, like, yeah, if I want to like take care of my nervous system, I pause because like, oh my gosh, that overthinking was my life, I saw that movie and I don't need to see that movie again. um so yeah, I love the pause. I use it now a lot. I would say when I'm not stressed, right? That's the practice I think it's evolving into for me. Especially, I had a lot of free time. So I felt as though like I kind of had the privilege of being able to pause a lot, feel a lot, heal a lot, do a lot of inner work. Now that I'm back to work outside of myself, the pause is just, it's so important because like I'm starting to see days just like fly by and I'm all, whoa, where'd that day go? Which is probably how I lived the first 45 years of my life. But now I don't want to live like that anymore. So building in the pause, right, really allows me to know where the day is before it's over, which is great. Yeah, the pause. I got a tattoo when I left VKM on my right finger so that I would never forget. So anyway, big deal. It's a big deal to me.
It's a big deal. And it's a simple big deal. It's to me, it's my meditation, my mindfulness is pause. I do it all day long. I don't pause in the morning and then pause in the evening. It's like I practice the pause all day. So I'm aware, I'm connected, I'm mindful. And that's what it allows me to choose me over and over and over again. Because if I'm in my head, I'm not going to choose me ever. You're dissociated from yourself because you're in a different realm.
I really like what you just said, Janice. It allows me to choose me. That's really so important to well, recovery in general, but also codependency specifically. So thank you for that. I just wanted to insert myself into what you were saying because that just like went right in. So it allows me to choose me. Thank you.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
I love that too.
If you're in your head, you're not choosing you. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're choosing distractions and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Pausing is so simple that it seems like it would be intuitive, but it is so not intuitive for me. But it has helped me tremendously, like beyond measure. And my anxiety levels have just decreased so significantly that, in ways that like medications couldn't. Not anything against medications or saying that they don't have their usefulness, and sometimes they do, but in like an everyday setting, it's been tremendous for me.
Right. It's more effective because you can use the pause or your own mindfulness to lower the anxiety anytime you need it.
Yes.
Where medication is, and again, I'm not against it either, but it's not as effective in that
Right.
it's anyway, I feel like everybody's saying the same thing, and I really appreciate that, that how to connect to ourselves. There's a million books on it, like find your inner peace. But it's as simple as pause. It doesn't have to be a long, big book about a million philosophical reasons behind it. It's just connecting to you. It could be a 5-page book and be profound.
Yeah.
Like a Rumi quote.
Yeah. I think there are some books out there that tend to I always think about people who complain about meetings and they're like, this could have been an email. And I think about these books, it's like, this could have been a haiku, or this could have been.
That's why I love Rumi. It's like, God, if everybody was that profound and simple, whew, emails wouldn't even matter. Text wouldn't matter because they would be just that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get confused. Too many words.
Something I noticed or that helped me like embrace the pause is any like public speaker I admire. Um, I mean, all my favorite therapists, Janice included, um, they, if I ask a question or if like the public speaker gets asked a question, they always pause. They always like reflect and take time and for me it was always like, oh, I gotta answer this or like gotta give an answer really fast. Like if I can't answer quickly, they're gonna go ask somebody else and then I'm not gonna be worth anything. Um, but for them it was like just or I just see it and I hear a quote my late CEO had said was he had thought somebody asked him like why do you still do this and he paused for a long time and he said well I had to ask myself like what matters and I think this matters um and it's like he knew he was worth like his answer was worth the pause. He has that self-worth. The pause is really just to make it more profound, like you were saying, Janice, as I like fumble my way through and make this longer than it needs to be. Bye.
No, I love that. That was a beautiful example. The pause allows you not to connect up here, but to connect here and speak your truth. It's a reflection of your truth instead of being clever or in your head trying to be the smartest or whatever, quickest. All that stuff, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It gets
Yeah.
in the way of connection.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, like sometimes my impulse has been to, oh, I want to respond quickly because I feel like it will help me connect or help me like belong, and like the eagerness is really sometimes it can be less less connection, more disconnecting than if you just like take your time rather than like pouncing on having to respond. Because it also respects what other people have to say as well, in the sense that you're giving yourself time to process what they have to say. Like you're giving what they're saying meaning, rather than being like, no, I'm gonna basically cut you off and interject my 2 cents worth. So
And a lot of people are in their heads thinking about what they want to say. They're not even listening to what the other person's saying.
yes,
Or they assume they know what the other person's going to say. It's like, ew, that is not connecting, you know? Well, I appreciate you guys, because I feel like this is one to revisit periodically, just as a reminder. And I believe personally, I can only speak from my learning process, I need to be reminded, because I can get distracted. I like to have things bring me back to focus and bring me back to me. You know what I'm saying? And when you revisit it, it expands it too, because if you do it once, it's like, okay, it's cool. But look how much more we got out of this conversation than the one before about this, or the one that we'll have after this. That's why I like to revisit important concepts.
Thank you, Janice.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
thank you,
Everyone,
Good one.
everyone.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Just kidding.
Janet. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.